Hey everyone, it's Gruhamed here from Loudwire, and it's time for some Wikipedia fact or fiction. And to my left, David Ellefson, Megadeth, and the new project, Altitudes and Attitude. Thank you so much for coming today.
How you
awesome
doing?
to see you. All right, I am going to recite to you some stuff I found on Wikipedia today.
Okay.
And you can just give me a fact or a fiction and elaborate if you
So
like.
I should know the answers.
I would hope that
Okay,
you know
all right.
the answers
Okay, I
to
got you.
these.
All
All
right.
right. Let's start simple.
Okay.
You were born in Jackson, Minnesota.
Fact.
Fact. Perfect.
yes,
All right,
yeah.
they're doing well so far.
Yeah.
In Megadeth, you were given the nicknames Junior and Dave Jr. to differentiate yourself from Dave Mustaine.
That's partial fact.
Okay.
And there's a little fictitious story that goes behind that, which
Friction.
is also fact. Friction, yeah. It is basically the guy that did the very first artwork for us, which was going to be the Killing Is My Business cover, which actually became the cover on the reissue of it. His name is Peyton Tuttle, and we were in the grocery store one day, and the word junior fell out of his mouth because I just moved to LA from the farm in Minnesota, and he was making fun of me for being wet behind the ears like I just fell off the turnip truck from Minnesota, right?
Okay.
And so he goes, you're like a junior, and Dave Mustaine heard that. we were shopping for groceries, and he started laughing. He goes, Junior, that is awesome. So that's the name that stuck for a long time.
Right. That never seemed like demoralizing in any way.
Oh, it was completely demoralizing. They all loved it. I hated it. That's why I hated it. But you know, it's one of those names that now it's kind of just, it's kind of stuck, you know. So fans lots of times go, Junior, you know. So it's like, all right, I get you.
Do the band still call you Junior sometimes?
Yeah, even like Gary Holt, you know, from Exodus. You know,
Gary will call you Junior,
you know. So
that's like 30 years.
30 years, yeah. The name stuck, you know. So I don't professionally go by that name, but
No.
you're kind of, if you're in the club, you know, that's the name.
All right, well.
Yeah.
After 6 months of unsuccessfully searching for vocalists for Megadeth, it was decided that Dave Mustaine would front.
How many years?
No, after 6 months of you, was it longer than that?
It was actually 6 months exactly. That is fact because we formed technically in June of 1983, and it was on New Year's Eve of that same year that we got one more singer flaked out on his audition. And I think it was too metal for him, so he flaked out. And finally, Dave just stood up to the mic and started singing. And and after he sang, and he almost passed out because he wasn't really a singer. You know what I mean? When you sing songs like Megadeth and you don't breathe and all that kind of stuff, it's like he almost passed out and his face turned red. I said, "Dude, that was awesome. You're the singer, man. You got to do this." So he stepped up and tried it again, and you know, after a couple of tries, he was the man.
Awesome. All right. You originally played bass with your fingers, but due to the complexity of Megadeth's music going forward, you started using a pick.
That is partially fact as well. I learned how to play with fingers. The guys that I like, their tone, Gene Simmons, even some Tom Hamilton from Aerosmith, I don't know, Jimmy Bain, a bunch of different players that I liked over the years, all use picks, and I like their tone a lot better. So I played with a pick. When I met Dave and we got started with Megadeth, I was playing with fingers, but once our tempos really jumped up, I had to grab the pick because it allowed me just to rip the lines along with the guitars, and also it just gave me a tone that cut through.
Friction.
It's a friction.
Fraction.
It's a fraction, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a good one. In 1985, you were given $8,000 by Combat Records to produce Megadeth's new album, the debut album rather, and you guys ended up spending half of it on drugs, alcohol, and food. Food really is not that big a deal. I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Who needs food when you have drugs and alcohol, right?
And this caused you guys to fire the original producer and produce it yourselves.
Again, friction. The 8,000 true, the 4,000, the drugs and booze, yes, all true. We mostly got through with Carrot Faye, the original co-producer of the record. I mean, technically, I guess he finished it, but at some point, we just parted ways and went on our own and finished the mixing. So that is, I'd say 98% fact.
Okay,
yeah.
So, yeah, lots of friction.
There's always a gray area in these things, especially because they were 30 years ago, right?
Yeah, that's what Wikipedia kind of is, isn't it?
Right.
All right. Former guitarist Chris Poland was accused of selling the band's equipment to buy heroin.
That was, the accusation is true.
But no definite proof.
Well, you know, here's the thing. Me and Chris are buddies, and actually one day a bass went missing out of my closet, and I don't know where it went. And it was a plexiglass Dan Armstrong bass, and it's one day I happened to think, I go, wait a minute, that bass isn't around here anymore. So Chris and I had a conversation about it, and
Conversation?
a conversation, yeah, and everything's good between at least me and him. Everything is fine.
Really?
So, yeah.
Was it?
Well, here's the thing you got to realize: when you're doing a lot of drugs, things just go missing, right? You know, and it's usually never your wallet or things like that because those are obvious. So things that are stashed in closets and deep down in the storage unit, sometimes things go missing, and you forget, like, did I space that out or did someone take that?
Oh, okay. So he was able to use that to his advantage, possibly.
Well,
Friction.
Let's call it friction.
All right. You are a practicing Christian, and your religious beliefs strengthened after you kicked drugs and alcohol in 1990.
That is fact, for
Fact.
sure. Yes,
All right.
yeah, that's fact.
There we go.
Yeah.
Getting there. All right. Dimebag Darrell almost became, of course, Pantera fame, almost became a member of Megadeth, but he didn't want to join a band without his brother Vinnie Paul also being in the band. And because you had already hired Nick Menza, you were forced to turn Dime down.
That is, man, that is so close to fact. All of it's true, except at the time, Chuck Wheeler was still our drummer. So the Nick Menza part is not there yet. Chuck would leave, Nick would come in. So you're bending the truth toward what would become fact.
But you had a drummer and therefore couldn't take
Yes,
it down.
that is true. And Dime, he said if I would take the gig, I'd have to come with my brother, and we actually had a drummer.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You just imagine how that would have changed just the history of music and
Yeah,
metal. if that
Pantera
happened.
Death or Megaterra or something, right?
Jeez. While supporting Aerosmith on their Get a Grip tour, Megadeth was kicked out of the tour after 6 shows because of Dave Mustaine's behavior.
That is not fact. We got kicked off
Fiction.
after 3 shows.
3 shows.
Yes, yes, it was 3 shows.
But
This stuff is pretty chill. I wonder who writes all this. They seem to remember most of this stuff better than us.
Not me.
Yeah, we actually made the opening paragraph of a chapter in the Aerosmith book. One day I was
Really?
like flipping through it, and all of it says, "Then we were on tour with Megadeth," and that story
Oh God.
follows. Yeah.
It was that bad that it made
we made it in the
beginning-
book.
The beginning of these books with people with their autobiographies, it's always the worst possible scenario that they go to first to kick
Yeah.
off the book.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't like we were all good friends and we conquered the world together. It was then we got thrown off the tour, right?
Yeah. Oh boy. All right.
It's one way to make history.
All right. Because of a legal dispute over royalties and the rights to the Megadeth band name, you at one point sued Dave Mustaine for $18.5 million.
Partial fact, those are actually not the reasons why the lawsuit happened, but that part, most of that is true. Fortunately, settled, water under the bridge, and you know, obviously we play together, so sometimes brothers fight, you know, but me and Dave are like brothers, and we've moved on. All's good. Yeah, all's well.
So that's friction. But was the 18.5 million, is that correct?
That number seems right, yeah.
Seems right?
Yeah.
All right.
Attorneys come up with numbers, you know.
Yeah. Due to animosity towards Megadeth, which was at one point your former band, your career in Megadeth was not included in the biography of your personal website.
You know, that probably was true. I can't remember because my website's been redone by now. So
Well,
I can't even
yeah.
go back and archive it and look.
Oh, okay.
Well, the discography was on there. I think the discography.
was on the discography.
The discography was always on there, yeah, yeah. But in the actual bio at that moment, it may not have been on there.
So you didn't write the bio, or did you write the bio?
I wrote some of the bios. I don't know if I wrote the exact bio.
Okay.
See, again, these people know everything because they watch it. When you're living in these 2 shoes, you know, life moves forward and you're around to other things, you know.
Yeah.
So I can't remember. I know the discography for sure was on there, always.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You began to make amends with Dave Mustaine over dinner on Christmas 2005.
partial fact. Yes, over dinner. I believe it was 2005, but it was not Christmas. It was actually earlier in the month. It was around probably early December, late November, actually.
Okay.
Friction.
All right, last one for you. 2010, you receive a text from Sean, the drummer,
Right.
obviously,
Mm-hmm.
saying, if there was ever a time for you and Dave to talk, now is it. That text led to the return, and you felt like you had never left once you were back.
That is absolute fact.
Fact.
That one is completely true right there. Nice.
Awesome. That's a good way
Dana?
to end everything.
We didn't do too bad,
We did
right?
all right.
We did about, like, I don't know, 4 out of 10 of them were right?
Sure, it's not that bad compared to the other ones we've done. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.